أن محمد رسول الله.
And I figured, okay, I'm gonna fire some shots.
هيا على الصلاة.
And they're gonna hear him on the camera.
هيا على الصلاة.
And if there's any extremists in there, they'll take notice. On Friday the 13th, 2015, my wife and I went out to a concert, and it happened to be the night of the Paris attacks. Didn't really think about it much. Went to the show, had a really good time at the concert, and drank a lot of Jack Daniels, and came home. And when I pulled up in the car and stopped, and when I got out, I looked over at the mosque. Between my property's right next door, and I was like, oh yeah, the Paris attacks. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do about this? I kind of felt like I had to do something. I kind of went into Marine Corps mode. So in my drunken stupidity, I decided I was gonna fire some shots off. So I went in the house and I got an M1A semi-automatic, and I put a 20-round magazine in and emptied the magazine into what I thought was very, very close to the mosque.
The night of the Paris attacks, I was coming to the mosque when I had found out about it through press and media, social media. It was Sunday when we came for prayers that we came in, and some of our members noticed the dramatic bullet wounds that were coming from inside of the sanctuary, the mosque. The innate reaction was, what did we do wrong? So one of the bullet wounds was right here, the main prayer area over here, and coincidentally, this is where most of the bullets pierced. One was down here, and one made it right through where the Imam stands, the leader of the prayer. So even if I was at this level, it still would have been in the line of fire. My head would have been in the line of fire. Our sign outside says, love for all, hatred for none. How did that miss anybody's sight when they were shooting? Then you think that, hey, you know, people really only see what they want to see.
Probably the progression that led me to actually picking up the rifle, it was a slow process. A lot of it was, I was going over my Facebook post. I looked back at the post and I was kind of embarrassed by him. I was like, wow, it was an extreme amount of hatred that was for nothing. I said to myself, well, how did it get there? And a lot of it was from just social media. I think one of the worst events was when the Marines were killed in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the recruiting station. That one really hit home with me, and that's when I started to get angry. And I would see on different posts and things on social media, and they would take quotes from the Quran that I later learned to believe were incorrect. So I had a complete misunderstanding of Islam.
The Quran says, seek help through patience and prayer. So that's what we did. We didn't let it scare us. We didn't let anybody scare us from practicing our faith and coming back to the mosque. And that was one of the biggest messages we wanted to send out initially. We had also wanted to meet Ted. All he had to do was come over to our mosque after we found out who it was. First thing that happens when he walks in, this big, husky guy, muscular guy.
When I went in the meeting, I just remember thinking it had an overwhelming guilt. You know, you knew just things went terribly wrong.
He has red cheeks and tears coming from his eyes.
I didn't really know what to expect. I just had no idea, and I just went in, and they didn't really know what to expect either.
You can feel the remorse. You can feel the regret that he had.
And what was the surprising thing is both sides were overwhelmingly surprised at the other side's sincerity.
And we said, you know, by the way, we're having this interfaith gathering on the true message of Islam and how to counter the extremist narrative. You can come there, most of our congregation will be there, and that will be a perfect opportunity for you to apologize to the congregation.
To my congregation, I'm going to ask you to greet and meet and hug Mr. Hakey and Mrs. Hakey.
It's been a tough time. I want to just apologize to everybody. I really have no excuses, and I don't think you could imagine the amount of regret I have and just the heartache I caused for everybody. If I had spent 5 minutes with you, it would have been all the difference in the world, and I didn't do that. I just ask for your forgiveness. Thank you. They were all coming up, hugging me, shaking my hand, thanking me for the apology, and that was just overwhelming.
There was no reason for Ted to keep the connection after he came out of prison with us. For those who thought that he was only doing this to spare himself from prison or whatever his ulterior motives were, that showed his sincerity.
And the embarrassing part was I thought there was extremists in this Ahmadi Muslim mosque, and it couldn't be the farther from the truth.
The purpose of Islam is what? To connect a man to God. That's number one. And number two is, as a human being, you should be useful to others.
I would say life for the both of us is as brothers.
So many people would just send me Facebook messages and Twitter messages, saying thank you, and that's what it was. They said there is hope. We can move on, because I was pretty much at the far extreme end as you can get. And then they realized, wow, if he can do a complete 180 on this, then there is hope.
He's not converted to Islam, but he's committed to spreading the real message to help educate people and enlighten them that everything is not what it seems.